Hello everyone, my name is Erwin. This is EDUC 7788, and I wanted to thank you all for taking the time to listen to my capstone presentation today. So a little bit about myself. I am currently a student at Piedmont. I'm pursuing a Master's of Special Education. I've been a special education teacher for 9.5 years and a football coach for 9.5 years. And I've been lucky enough to teach a wide variety of students here and in Florida. So today, what we're going to go now that I've introduced myself, we're going to go over my educational pedagogy, summary of research proposal, TEKS standards and work samples, and finally professional growth. So to get into my educational pedagogy, what do I believe in? I believe in constructivist philosophy and multiple intelligences. I believe that all of our students are unique learners, even if their personalities are similar, or you have students with similar strengths, they're still going to perceive the world in their own unique way. So we need to try our best to construct a classroom that works for everyone. Multiple intelligences. I do believe that there's more than one type of intelligence. Some students are going to be more visual, right? Whether it's they learn more effectively with the visual. Some students are better at pen and paper. Some students have great intelligence with hand-eye coordination, which is why they might be a great soccer player or football player, but maybe a quote-unquote average student. But my job as an educator, I'm going to try to construct a room that supports as much of that as I can, and that I construct assessment that has wide variety and is able to play more to a student's strength. More of what I believe in, right? I believe in scaffolding. I believe that it's important for our students, when they haven't learned something, to get it in a small enough piece that they can appropriately absorb that information without being overwhelmed. That's why you teach things one step at a time. And then all of this, as far as zone of proximal development, just really understanding your students and knowing what you need to teach and how much you need to teach to develop growth. For law and ethics, what's important to me, the individualized education plans. My job as a special education teacher, the IEP is the most important document I have, as far as providing it's a legal document that provides accommodation and services for my special education students, and when it's written, it's unique, and it needs to be followed so that we give those students their best chance to succeed. Least restrictive environment. It's vital that students are placed in the most appropriate setting for them to learn. And then finally, you look at ethics. Evolve and adapt. That's part of the job of special education. There's court cases and changes constantly being made in our field, and it's important that you evolve with the changes and you be adaptable, because if you're not, you're going to struggle in special education. And then that also includes evolve and adapt to the students that you get. Even in the 9 years I've been teaching, students have changed. And then what's reinforced my pedagogy? What's reinforced my pedagogy by being in the master's program? The importance of collaboration with peers as a teacher, and the importance of collaboration with students. This program is really emphasized, and that students that peers are the most effective way for students to learn and gain new knowledge. And then finally, learning the motives, right? Learning what motivates my students and how to effectively reach them. This program is really, it's really highlighted the importance of reinforcement and motivating students to want to work hard and to want to display good behavior. Okay, so summary of research proposal. As I mentioned in the previous slide, part of my reinforced pedagogy is student motivation. So the purpose of the research, right, is determining the impact of student motivation and how technology can enhance it. Basically, I want to know, does student motivation improve performance, and what technology is available that helps motivate students, whether it's educational or non-educational? What's the impact on student achievement? I believe it can help our most at-risk students from dropping out. It can improve academic performance, and I believe it can improve willingness of students to work in peer groups, which we all know when students can learn from each other, via reciprocal learning, that there's real knowledge gained there. Okay, for TEAC standards, I'm going over the differentiation, which is standard 4. How was this standard achieved in my capstone? Applying differentiating learning strategies such as scaffolding in my classroom. That's a big part of what I do. It's a big part of my job. Examples that I'm going to provide in the next slide it's a group poetry project with a rubric showing defined roles, and then you have graphic organizers for writing assignments, which is chunking research for students so they can write their paper. How the program helped me with differentiation. As a special education teacher, I've always known what differentiation was, but I didn't always understand the why and like what's the science behind it. And this program gave me deeper insight into student thought process, and I've learned more strategies to use in the classroom. Okay, so for my TEACS work samples, for differentiation, here, right, it's a poetry analysis rubric, and what this rubric is showing is that it's in the class, students are having to break down poetry and determine, theme, figurative language in the poetry, author background based on the time period in American literature, right? If you ask a student to do all of that by themselves, I think you would find that not many of them would be very successful in the task, and you'd find many of them to become very frustrated with the task and not do it, and thus no learning is occurring. So by differentiating and chunking this assignment into specific roles, you allow students to work to their strengths, right? When we talked about multiple intelligences earlier, right? and there's a presenter for this project. There's a researcher. There's an analyst where they have to look into details. There's a person who has to design the PowerPoints or the visual, and so each student has a role, and then they present, allowing students to play to their own strengths. On the next work sample, you have a Freyer model diagram. We were going over the crucible, and it was basically who's responsible for certain deaths. The student chose John Proctor for his own death. In the essay, you needed background information, why they were responsible, textual evidence that supports this. If you, for special education or non-special education student, if you just throw them this essay and say, write this essay and assign blame, the organization is not going to be what you want. So we have this four square model that students are allowed to use, and they can plug them into their essay. So professional growth. Changes in instruction for myself. More strategic use of peer groups. This may refer to being more thoughtful, not necessarily about having high achieving with low achieving, but being more strategic in grouping by skill set, or grouping by personalities to make sure you have a safer environment for your classroom. More culturally responsive lessons. I think it's important to dive in. So especially in so if I'm teaching American literature in a co-taught setting, really diving into the backgrounds of some of these texts, and be truthful about what was going on in the background of these novels. You teaching materials that are more relevant to my students too. And then more impactful differentiation, really learning why the differentiation works, and not just doing it because it's just what you do. Future goals for myself. I want to continue to teach in the classroom. I don't have much interest in administration. I like teaching, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. And then I want to continue my education and get a specialist degree in curriculum and design. I want to learn more about why, so like I know what we do, but I want to learn more about the how and the why of curriculum, and I think it'll make me a stronger teacher in the end. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation, and I hope it was insightful for you all, and I hope everyone has a great day.